after this event that took place on February 10th, 1996, it completely destroyed him. Nobody wanted to breathe the same air as him. Nobody wanted to shake his hand. They cleared the room as he entered. Gyms closed on him. They closed their doors on him. People looked at him when he sneezed and he coughed. He was kicked out of his profession. He had no more boxing. The media were hateful, And doesn't this all now sound familiar? Isn't everybody going through this type of isolation right now with the coronavirus? This is what Tommy was given. He was given this death sentence of a disease that he never had, but was given a stigma to have for the rest of his life. And I will fight for justice for him, because he always wanted to be exonerated from having had a deadly stigma that destroyed him, isolated him.
Tommy did say, and he always said, he had a platform to expose something, but he didn't know what it was.
Okay.
He knew that it wasn't anything to do with boxing. I firmly believe that his platform was to expose the fact that the tests that he was given in Vegas and throughout from 1996 to 2013 don't detect HIV, and the antibodies that supposedly it picks up are also in cows and dogs and animals and plants. So those antibodies are not specific to human beings. And also the fact that when he died, the pathologist report clearly says he didn't have HIV, which in scientific terms is retroviruses.
Okay.
Maybe this is what he's trying to expose.
And in order to receive justice for Tommy Morrison, we have to expose it. Right at the very beginning of this list of things that Trisha Morrison, his wife, sent to Natural News Blogs, it says, "We get off the phone with Andrew Breitbart of BigGovernment.com in July 2011, who was planning on whistleblowing against HIV/AIDS and reputed HIV discoverer Dr. Robert Gallo, and then Andrew dies a few months later of natural causes. Coroner also dies a few months later of arsenic poison. And we begin our journey," she says. Now this talks about how he was wrongfully imprisoned, all the incredible extensive list of malpractice, health things that went on. And she'll tell you a lot about some of the really crazy ones, so I'm not going to go mention that one. But I mean, there's a tick bite in here. There's something that's really nuts. There's a sacrum wound, hip wound, insertion of gastric tube. They break his teeth. He gets the Guillermo Miller-Fisher-Guillain-Barré syndrome, inability to speak, eat, move, breathe, undergoing 4 months of intravenous immunoglobulin treatment, fluid around heart drained, fluid around lungs drained. It just goes on. What they did to him was just an absolute disgrace, and he didn't deserve any of it. And really, it is very similar. She's right that it's very similar about what's happening now. And the medical industry cannot continue to get away with this. Medical and health issues and doctors should be to benefit the health of everybody that they are who their patients are. And we need to restore that. There should be a natural option and a pharmaceutical option always at every medical facility around the world, so that people can see the differences, studies can be done on the differences, and things can change, because it has to change. I'll definitely put the links below, but listen to what Trisha Morrison has to say about this story, because it is absolutely nuts. And stay tuned to the very end, because at the end I have a clip that I didn't include in the last video of Tommy that's just one of my absolute most favorite clips I've ever heard from really anyone. He goes into Tartaria, ancient talk, God, spirituality, and all this stuff. It's just really beautiful. This guy was just such an amazing man, and I'll praise him once more at the end, but definitely listen to everything Trisha has to say. We have to work to get justice for Tommy Morrison. He deserves it, and she's going to sue for $110 million. Justice for Tommy Morrison.
No, because you've done a lot of studying, done a lot of digging, but the average person like me just doesn't know, and maybe they only know what the headlines say. From what I understand is that there was a time that tests came back and said that he indeed was carrying HIV, but then tests were done later where he was proven negative, and those original tests can never be found again. Does that sound about right so far about what is kind of out there, or what?
That's what's out there in the media.
Right.
If you want to know what's out there in the medical world and the scientific world, then I'd be happy to tell you that. The tests that Tommy was given actually do not detect HIV.
Okay.
Does that blow your mind?
Well, maybe not me, because I know you were going to say that. I was prepared. I was prepared for you to say that, but
it's not me, Ryan. It's not me that's saying that.
Right, no, I understand.
Right, from science journals and also from the test kit manufacturers as well. To answer your first question, did Tommy die of AIDS? No, he did not.
Okay.
He had no AIDS-defining diseases.
Okay.
There are about 50 to 100 diseases or disorders that comes as part of AIDS, which is a syndrome.
Right.
It's a collection of diseases.
Right.
In the last hospital that we were at, he had tests for all that and came back negative. In order to have AIDS, you have to have the virus,
right,
is what is in the medical literature, right? I mean, everybody knows or has been told HIV equals AIDS, and that's what you're going to get after you've got the virus.
Right.
One thing that hasn't been publicly told out there by the media, for example, like ESPN, they omitted it, is that when Tommy passed away, he was given a post-mortem blood autopsy. They drew his blood specifically on the test requisition to look for the virus, and they found no virus. And this came out 2 weeks after the death certificate and 2 weeks after the media went crazy after Tommy had passed away. So they never found, and they photographed his blood, they never found the virus in his blood in 2013. And also another test was done in 2012 where his blood was sent to Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital. They analyzed it, they put it under electron microscope, just as it's a well-known procedure, and they found no virus then as well. What started everything is once they found that there was no virus, I went back to Vegas and I started to ask questions, just like you've all heard. I'd heard that his fight in 1996 was cancelled because of what, Ryan? Let me ask you that question. Why was it cancelled?
Because he tested positive for HIV.
Okay, right. Then that's what I heard, and that's what the world has heard, and that's what's on the media.
Right.
Well, come to find is who diagnosed him with HIV in Vegas? Who was it? Was it the lab?
Well, I don't know.
Right. And was it the physician? Was it the commission? Well, it turns out that the lab says that their tests don't detect HIV. It comes to pass now that the physician in Vegas said he didn't diagnose him with HIV. And then the commission is now saying, we never diagnosed him with HIV. When I looked at the Rocky movie last night and I saw what I thought was probably Don King, was that what he was supposed to be?
Yes, it's a character it's a Don King type boxing promoter. Absolutely, yes.
Right. When he says to Rocky, we can change anything so that you get your license. And they were like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And of course, Don King was his promoter in Vegas for the first of a multi-million-dollar fight.
Oh, wow.
To come up against Mike Tyson in a third fight. So this a multi-million-dollar contract. So there's a lot of conspiracy thinking out there, did something happen to get him kicked out of the fight? But coming back to the tests, you don't have to take my word for it if he had HIV or not. It's on a pathology report by a facility that has dealt with Ebola, HIV, AIDS for the past 33 years. They are the ones that told me on paper, in a report, and in photograph, that he never had HIV. So I'm not making it up.
Right.
I'm not having smoke blown up my whatever, as was mentioned in ESPN, right? This comes directly from a pathology. So I can only give you the answer that I was getting about his diagnosis. The final diagnosis of Tommy Morrison was no HIV.
Right, because he tested negative for HIV 4 times in January 2007. Does that sound right?
For the fight, yep, those were different tests.
Okay.
Yep.
He was given a false positive in 1996, but Tommy believed that report.
Absolutely. Of course he believed it. You know what, Ryan? He believed it on and off all the way through until his death. He didn't know that the test never actually picked up the virus. He never even knew that. He just knew that he did not feel sick. But what happens is when you are told you're going to die, by the time you get to your car, you turn to drugs, crime, you think it's your last day, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's how he lived a reckless life until he woke up and he would tell me, I'm not dead. I'm not dead today.
Right. Cardiac arrest resulting from multi-organ failure due to septic shock caused by pseudomonas, I can't pronounce it.
Septicemia, yeah. The death certificate came out 4 days after Tommy passed away. It came out on September the 4th, 2013, and then the blood autopsy came out on September 17th, 2013. It is correct what's on the death certificate: cardiac arrest and multi-organ failure. He was put into a medically induced coma. Also, he got septic shock for 21 months, caused by pseudomonas, which was caused by 12 foot of surgical gauze having been left in Tommy's chest for 1 week after a surgery in Tennessee.
Wait,
by
say
a
that
surgeon.
again? So, wait, I don't know if I've been... So repeat that for our listeners. He had surgery and they left gauze inside of his body?
Yes, they did. 12 foot. I don't know, how tall are you, Ryan?
6'0" with shoes on.
Oh, 6 feet? All right, if you stand up, twice your height, Ryan, was left inside Tommy's chest.
Have we heard this before? Is this verified? Where can we find this?
Yeah, it's totally verified. You'll see another video that I posted because the media won't report on it.
Sure.
I posted a video showing 12 foot of gauze coming out of Tommy's chest.
The video of that happening?
Not of the video. It's a reenactment of that 12 foot of gauze coming out, but real photographs of his chest wound that he had.
What was the surgery for?
The night before we got the Rocky movie, the next day is when he was caught in a sting operation. I had flown out for one night, and this lady, he was at Walmart, this lady said to him, I need a ride to the courthouse. I'm going to be late. She approached Tommy, who was in his car, and he said, well, I don't know where it is. And she said, well, I'll show you. And she quickly got in his car with all her bags and everything. They went down 2 minutes, made a left. She jumped out of the car, and there were 4 cop cars waiting for him.
Okay.
And they said to him, do you have any warrants of arrest? And he said, no. And they said, well, yes, you do. You have a felony fugitive warrant of arrest, and we're taking you to jail.
Oh, wow.
For the next month, he was in jail 23 hours a day.
Right.
It was based on a felony fugitive warrant of arrest, which ended up being, so for any of you guys that are on drugs and everything, or wanting to get off drugs, you might want to consider this, but he was sent to jail because of an unpaid $80 fine in South Dakota of 6 years prior, right?
Oh, wow.
A marijuana felony on a dropped case in Wichita. They added a dropped case in Wichita to an unpaid fine in South Dakota and made it a felony and put him into jail.
Jeez.
One of the scenes, actually, which really touched me last night was, when Rocky Balboa said, take me home, I want to go home. That was one of the things that Tommy had said when he was facing the judge, and they couldn't unseal the warrant until he'd flown to Wichita, Kansas. I remember him saying, I just want to go home.
Right.
He didn't know what it was all about. None of us knew what it was about. He came out of jail with a tick bite.
Okay.
Finally allowed to go for surgery in Tennessee. After the surgery, he was a completely different person. A week later, we came out of the hospital. It was supposed to be a 1-hour surgery, and we were in there 8 days. And when we got home, the home health lady came to change the bandage on his chest. So she just kind of ripped off the top part and was about to put something back on it again. And I said, wait, there's something in his chest. There's like a little thread hanging out. And she said, no, I've got no other documentation of anything else. I just have to change this 4x4 bandage. I said, no, there is something in there. So I took a picture of it. We had to get a huge magnifying glass. She slowly pulled on the thread. Out came, very, very slowly, 12 foot of surgical gauze that the surgeon had left in his chest for a week, which caused it to get infected in his chest with Pseudomonas, which then went into his bloodstream, which is one of the causes of death.
What was the timeline from that event to his death? How many years or months?
21 months.
Okay.
And we were in and out of ICU, in and out of hospital. He was fighting it. It was horrendous. It completely shut his body down.
Would that explain the pictures of him being quite thin at the end of his life?
Well, actually, he was still just under 200 pounds when he died. So I don't know what pictures you're looking at.
Well, for him, because he was such a big, strong boy, like in the Rocky film, his boxing career. Yeah. But he looked much, well, I guess thin is relative, but I don't mean thin as in not fat, but just it looked like some muscle mass might have been gone or something. From a couple of the photos I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, show me those photos and I'll tell you why, right? Because the majority of those photos that other people post, first of all, we found out one of them was photoshopped, all right, and used as actually in an AIDS magazine.
Oh, geez.
Because one of his fans actually sent me a photograph of that same day at that same show, and he looks fantastic. And I'll actually post it on my Facebook page in the next few days. Some of the other photographs that you'll see is when he was on drugs. I mean, hardcore drugs.
Sure.
You know, cocaine, heroin, everything he could get his hands on because he was told he was going to die. That was it. Like I'm a pro on Rocky V now, which I'm not. Sly gave Tommy a necklace with a boxing glove, right, on it, with DTA engraved on it. He gave them out, and it was "Don't trust anyone."
Yeah. So the necklace says that DTA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but somebody stole it from Tommy. Jeez. I mean, there you go. Yeah, it does. And you know what? I don't think God would do that, and I do believe in God, and I think this is a way of God's actually saying, hey, he did not die of HIV AIDS. And, you know, why would pathologists hand me reports stating just that? You know, I'm going to give you the choice, Ryan. Listen to the media,
right?
All right, and read the media, and then look at a pathologist report from a scientist.
Yeah.
And why is it that the media don't want to touch this story? Why is it that they don't want to show the pathologist report, which I actually have? What are you drinking, Ryan?
Water, just water.
Okay.
It's too early for anything else. It's just water.
You know, and that's another thing about drinking. I think that Tommy had one White Russian every Christmas, and that's about it, right? He would drink milk. He would drink water. He would drink protein shakes. He didn't like alcohol. He disliked alcohol completely. He may have, you know, a Dr. Pepper now and again, but not really. He wasn't into junk food. He always said, you are what you eat.
Sure.
You know, when I see stories about him drinking, yeah, he did. As a kid, he drank, and everybody drank.
That's right. And fraudulent in the sense, you know, people are going to go, well, what do you mean by fraudulent? Well, you know, first of all, throughout the whole lawsuit, they state 5 statutes, which are laws, Nevada laws, that Tommy violated. And, you know, after finding out just recently, and after the Nevada Commission just recently admitting, I mean, literally just admitting in the last few weeks, that those laws never existed. They never existed in 1996. So they lied to Tommy, and they lied to all his fans. They lied to all the people listening to, you know, this interview. They lied to the media, Tommy's family, and they lied to the courts as well, to the judges in Nevada the judges in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, and then what's called the justices in the U.S. Supreme Court. They lied to all of them. You know, we're talking about 30 judges and justices that they lied to under, you know, in court documents. So this is pretty serious. I tried really hard, Tony, to get an attorney in Las Vegas to work on this case for Tommy after I found out from his post-mortem report that he did not have HIV and did not have any AIDS disorders, and the physician in Vegas said he did not ever diagnose Tommy with HIV in '96. And so with all that ammunition from experts in the field of microbiology and virology and proper physicians that are licensed, not fake physicians that have been a part of this lawsuit, I went to Vegas and I tried to find an attorney, and all I got back from them was, no, we can't handle this. We can't go up against the Nevada Attorney General's office. Our kids go to school with their kids. We brush shoulders in restaurants. We can't do that. You know, we need our jobs. So I had
don't worry about justice.
Quickly just, yeah, you know, but that's just the way it was, and I could not find anybody to handle the case. So I happened to call one night. I got all the documents ready together to serve on the defendants, and the defendants are Mark Ratner from the commission, Dr. Margaret Goodman, who now runs VADA, right? The Nevada Commission. You've got John Hyatt, who they portrayed as a physician and a renowned pathologist for 24 years. And he's not even licensed as a physician nor a pathologist. So that was just a flat-out lie. And then Quest Diagnostics, the lab in Vegas, who were doing and probably still are doing tests that do not detect the HIV virus. So those are the 5 defendants. And I had to take it upon myself, Tony, and I made one phone call to Vegas one night, and I said, I need help. I need to serve summons and the complaint on these 5 defendants, and everybody's too scared to do it, but I need help. And the people I called happened to be watching Rocky V at the time I called them. It was unbelievable.
They're making it quite obvious that they are guilty of all the above.
Well, you know, and I have a pretty good memory for documents, believe it or not. I didn't know I had, but they have constantly throughout just the lawsuit alone committed perjury, false testimony, conflicting, information all the way through. And basically, you just go back to the document number, the line number, the page number, and you rewrite what they said a month ago, and it's different to what they're now saying. So they have contradicted and basically given false testimony throughout the whole case, thinking that I would not find out. And granted, I didn't find out at the time. It's taken me a while because I'm not an attorney. I didn't know attorneys were so corrupt as the ones that I've been fighting. I didn't know that they lied. I thought when you put your hand up and you swore under oath, that you would tell the truth and the whole truth, that's what both sides did. But I was completely wrong, and I've called them out. I've called them out every time, Tony, and it's in writing, it's in the documents, and it's right in front of the judges now again for them to look at, because the judges have been lied to. Quest Diagnostics, just like the commission does here, in Vegas. All they wanted from the lab was a lab report, and they would believe what the lab said on that report. Well, you can't do that, because now Quest have admitted in court, and rather confessed, that a lab report is not a diagnosis. So all these things have come out in this case, in addition to having, lifted the suspension, and in addition to the commission now saying that they never diagnosed Tommy and that they never put him on suspension. So that's where we are, and now we're waiting for the judge to help us, or help Tommy, to get the other part of the information, which is a concealed disk of information.
This story of Tommy Morrison exposes absolutely everyone in so many different industries as being just incredibly fraudulent, criminal, sinister, evil, and just dirty and nasty. And all for what? They took down just this guy. Like, why? Really? Like, I mean, he gave hope to so many people. He made so many people happy. He just was a great, kind man in search of like spiritual truth, and just he still had an amazing brain after all these fights, hundreds of fights. Tyson only fought 58 times. This guy fought over 200 times. And I think he could have taken him. Whatever, I don't care what anyone says. His spirit was unbelievable. He was a warrior. Bless Tommy, bless his entire family. I pray that justice gets gained from him, and I hope a lot of people learn from this story and take with it from today. And I hope the entire medical industry starts to change and shift, and it's going to take a lot more work than just exposing this. But these people need to pay for what they've done to humanity all over the world. And it's really sick how anyone could even think that. But I want you to hear this last part of Tommy. He's just unbelievable. He talks about everything, Tartaria and more. He doesn't straight mention it, but his just mind was right on point, and I believe him. I agree with him. He's a beautiful man. Bless him, bless his family. Justice will be obtained for you, Tommy. You truly are a hero. Bless you all.